Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see all of you here. I'm George Gastel, the Chair of the Accessibility Services Advisory Committee. Let's start with, can I have the clerk call the roll?
Members, please make your selections on the tablets. Chair, we have a quorum with 8 members present and 7 members absent.
It's a close call. Thank you to all of you that are here. Do we have anyone joining us on Zoom?
We do, but she's not counting as a voting member.
I got you. Okay. Well, I'm glad we have a quorum. In June, we didn't have a quorum, which is the reason why our March minutes are on the agenda to be approved at this meeting. So get back to our, the next item we have is public comments. And do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay. That brings us to approval of the minutes. We've got March and June. And can we do them both with one motion?
Yes, we can.
I think it'd be appropriate if someone wants to move that we approve these minutes. Wonderful. We've got a motion from David Marino. Is there a second? Got a second from, I know you, but your nameplate isn't matching. Yeah, Rodriguez from, hey, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Yes. Oh, I think we're supposed to vote. Are we supposed to vote on the little screen?
Correct. Members, please make your selections on the tablet.
Okay. It's not accepting my vote. Okay. Like that. There we go. Okay.
The motion passes with 9 members present and 6 members absent.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And it's great to have that done. Okay, let's go on to the discussion items. Our first item is our fixed route and trolley update with Keith Van and Aaron Pitt.
Good afternoon. All right, so I threw together something just to kind of get an idea of what's going on with the special events this year and what we're kind of working on for the postseason for Padres. The majority of what we're doing is going over my presentation, going over some of the ridership that we had over the season. The Padres is projected for the last few games, but it's pretty much what we expect. A little bit of numbers from the Comic-Con, the ridership that we saw there, and then briefly touching upon the Park Boulevard project that they're doing, and then the Orange Line Improvement Project, which is going to start in October. For the Padres season, for pre-event, for all weekday games, we had 3 shuttle trains would run for pre-event. They'd go up to Qualcomm Stadium, come back in service, and that really helped with congestion. It made it easier for the people who regularly took the trolley and also for people attending the game. So we had a lot less late trains out of it, and I think it served its purpose very well. We didn't do post or pregame, for weekend games because there wasn't as much daily ridership. So the normal ridership was able to accommodate without having to bring the extra trains out there. And I didn't see too many reports of over congested trains. So it was worth not using the extra service if we didn't need it. For post event, for any game that was just a Padres day, we'd have 2 4-car trains and make ads to some of the green lines right when it ended. And we'd send them out generally once the crowd started showing up. And the whole season, everything seemed to go very smoothly. All the reports, I haven't seen very many complaints other than the train was crowded, not not very many of those either. So I think we did pretty good this year for the Padres season. I threw some pictures together. This is near the beginning of the season, people getting off the train coming to post event at pre-event Gaslamp, and then 12th and Imperial. The third picture is people waiting for the train after that game was over. So that's pretty much consistent for the whole season. The Padres sold out or nearly sold out most of their games, and we averaged about 15% of that ridership for every game. So I did numbers based on, as of September 3rd, the Padres averaged about 40,000 people attending every game. Every ridership on average throughout the whole week, we took about 5,800 people per Padres game. For those stations daily, we take about 10,000 people. So that's about a 56% increase in ridership getting off at those specific stations, Gaslamp and 12th and Imperial, from the orange to green and then the blue line in both directions. As of September 3rd, the Padres brought in 2.7 million people, and we brought in 400,000 of those people on the trains. And as I said before, it's about a 15% ridership for the Padre games to the attendance of the games. The FC and Wave games made it complicated because we had multiple start times. Some games were early, some games were late, and we always had the Padres running. About half the games, we had Padre events running at the same time. But on the games or the days where there were only those events, we started off with a lot of service for the Wave and the FC. The Wave didn't need quite as much service, so we cut it down until it found a happy medium with 2 or 3 trains waiting for post-event. The FC has been consistently high attendance, as I have there. Their average game was about 26,000 people, and we took about 3,700. The difference being that we only have one line to service that station, so it was a lot more people per train than it was for the Padres games. Again, the average ridership for those locations was about 10,000, and that's about a 36% increase in ridership for those particular game days for the SDFC. And then our average ridership has been dropping a little, but it's still about 14% of the attendance. The Wave is smaller attendance. On average, they're doing about 11,300 per game, and we're taking about 1,900 of that, which still is about an 18% increase in ridership for that day for any game when we had the Wave. So for all the seasons, for the 3 different teams we had a significant increase in ridership, revenue from the ridership, and I believe all 3 of them went very well as far as the fans are concerned. And I'm hoping that will encourage people to want to take the trains more for the next seasons to come. There's a picture of one of the postseason games of the FC. The platforms are crowded on both sides. We're bringing 4-car trains, and those trains are leaving crowded, and usually the platform's clear, but it fills right back up once the next train is there. And that's another game, same thing on the daytime game. For Comic-Con, it was a really big success. We had better numbers than we've had in several years. We had 9 3-car green lines, 5 3-car red line trains. They ran all day. We had very little problems. Everyone brought their A game. All the maintenance was done. If there was a problem, the trains were brought out really quickly. We didn't have any serious issues. I think there was one small issue on the blue line, but that had nothing to do with Comic-Con. There's some pictures of Mark did some pictures. So I kind of copied them of the general attendance at Gaslamp Convention Center. Just the vast number of people going throughout the area, crossing the tracks with all the security and all the other people making everyone safe. It was a really good team effort from everyone to make it a great event. We had approximately 306,000 additional ridership for that 4-day Comic-Con, which is a 69% increase in normal weekly ridership system-wide, not just those stations. So it was very, very significant. The Park Boulevard construction project to be able to connect Park to Harbor Drive, they're moving along, but they're moving along a little slow. It's a city project, and they hit hiccups here and there. The next closure is scheduled to be Friday, October 3rd. The only thing that might cause that to be delayed would be if the Padres make it to postseason and they do significantly well enough to host the first division game here. So the contractors already started hiring people. They're ready to go. We're just waiting on the last few games to see where it's going to go with that. That's the same project that we've been doing before, where we'll have a closure between Imperial Terminal and Santa Fe Depot and bus service connecting between. Of note, at Gaslamp, there's no good place still to be able to service for dropping off buses because there's no good place for ADA to board, so we have to skip the Gaslamp station when we're doing that bus bridge. Orange line improvement, we're just beginning. that's the best map I have right now, but their first project started October 18th, 19th. It's going to be a bus bridge between 12th and Imperial and Euclid Avenue. The plans are still being put together, but currently, as I understand it, we're going to have the Orange Line running between Euclid and El Cajon. There'll be the Blue Line will service any Orange Line passengers in the downtown area, and then from 12th and Imperial to Euclid, there'll be a bus bridge connecting those two locations. The expectation is to do one closure every month until phase 1 and phase 2 are complete. We will keep you updated on the closures as they come up, but they should be pretty well organized. We went through back and forth how we can minimize the impact to the riders, how we can make sure that if it's one closure, it's the same closure series as much as possible so that we don't have to jump all over the place on 1 week it's here, the next week it's a different place. So that's it.
Thank you. Wonderful. Any questions? Yeah, Renee?
So are you guys getting prepared for the playoff for the San Diego FC and for the Padres?
Yeah, we have the contingencies already going. I've got a baseline put together once I get the better idea for the times for the games, if they have the wild card here, and then again, if they advance further in the postseason. We kind of keep something in our back pocket just in case, because it's so dynamic. We have to have a lot of people on standby just in case, and then we say, okay, it's go or no go. And for FC, I believe it's going to be in November or the post event, so that's a little bit down the line, but we're still keeping that ready.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tim?
Thank you for the presentation. Just want to congratulate the MTS staff for getting those crowds evacuated really quickly after I go to a lot of the soccer games at Snapdragon, and it's always like really efficient getting out of there. So thanks a lot.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we worked really well with customer service and security to kind of find the best method to get people in and out of there. And still people complain a little, but it's the best we can do and make sure everyone has fares as well.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. And next we have item number 5.
I'm sorry, Chair, we're actually still on item number 4.
Oh, that's right, because we've got Aaron Pitt.
Yeah, hi, my name is Vasi Heiss. I am the new manager of paratransit and minibus. I am actually going to be giving an update on fixed route on behalf of Keith Van. So since last ASAC, there was a service change on August 31st with minor adjustment schedules. Just a reminder that free ride day is coming up on October 1st. Currently, there are 498 bus operators with a goal of 510, and MTS HR is holding weekly hiring events in this particular building. Currently, there are 16 student bus operators, 11 are in training, and 5 are in revenue service training, and they graduated on September 26th. Route 4 Imperial Avenue Bikeway project is over. A few bus stops have a new modular platform. Route 30 Via La Jolla detour is over. And finally, the Adams Avenue Street Fair is this weekend and is going to be impacting Route 11. Route 11 will be detoured off of Adams Avenue on Saturday, 9/20 and 9/21 on both days, 24 hours. Buses will be detoured off of Adams Avenue between West Mountain View and Cherokee Avenue northbound, and southbound is going to be between 36th Avenue and West Mountain View.
Thank you. Any questions?
For the record, we do not have any public comment.
And we sure appreciate that your update. And I don't know how many of you have met our new director of paratransit and minibus, but there she is. Thank you for your report. And now are we ready for the insourcing study? Wonderful. I think we have Mike Daney here, insourcing study update. And I should note that insourcing is the opposite of outsourcing. I say, okay. And this relates to something that the MTS board has been talking about for quite a while, discussion that started while I was on the MTS board. And it'd be great to see how it's been progressing. So I'll turn it over to Mike Daney.
Yeah, I'm Mike Daney. I'm the Director of our Contracted Operations and Passenger Facility Division here at MTS. I'm going to give you an overview of the presentation that was given to the MTS board on September 11th. Let's see, where is this thing? So the project was structured into 4 phases, and the phase that we presented to the board was Task 4, which focused primarily on the cost implementations and impacts of bringing the contracted operations in-house. We moved this task forward to September to provide the board a little bit more key information in terms of the feasibility of doing this. And then we're moving Task 3, which would have been presented out to January, which will focus primarily on how we would do that and the cost to actually migrate service over. And through this presentation, I'll provide you a little bit more detail on that. Just to kind of recap where we've been and what we're doing. So there's 4 different scenarios. The first scenario would be to bring in everything fixed route, minibus, and paratransit. Second scenario would be to bring in fixed route and minibus only. And then the third would be only paratransit. And then the fourth would be maintain the current hybrid model of operation where we have some contracted out and the other already operating in-house. From a performance perspective, generally speaking, Transdev and the contractor perform relatively the same as our in-house operation. There are a few key indices where our in-house operation performs better with preventable accidents and complaints per 100,000 passengers. But on the maintenance side of things, Transdev has historically shown a little bit more better performance in this category. Kind of break down or recap how the contracted operation is represented by unions. I have a slide here that shows the different unique unions. Transdev, both the fixed route and the Paris side of contracted out, has 8 distinct represented or CBAs, and whereas the in-house only has 2. Should we bring this in-house, the CBA for our in-house contracts stipulates that we would have all those contract employees become part of our in-house union, either the ATU or IBEW, depending on what their roles are at those contracted operations. The workforce impacts associated with this, here you can see a table on the screen that basically illustrates how bringing these employees over to MTS would look on a scale. It's basically a color scale, but scenario 1, we bring in roughly 1,400 employees. This is comprised of mechanics, drivers, road supervisors, radio dispatchers, servicers, and those kind of things. And then scenario 2, again, just the fixed route, not including paratransit, would bring in about 1,200 employees, and then only bringing in paratransit, around 250 employees. Now, the projected cost impacts of doing this, scenario 1, bringing everything in-house, is looking at just under $70 million a year in operating expense increases. Scenario 2, just bringing in fixed route minibus, we're looking at about $55 million of cost increases. And scenario 3, $18 million. These cost scenarios were based on our FY26 budget, and we worked, our consultant TMD worked closely with our finance department and our operating divisions to come up with these numbers, as well as our HR department. The primary cost drivers behind this is labor, as you can imagine, including salary and wage, fringe benefit, and then also the non-labor aspects of these contracted operations, which is material supplies, bringing vendors in-house, contracting out with new vendors to take care of certain things, risk management, liabilities, IT, et cetera. What these numbers do not include is the transition costs. So if we were to bring this in-house, there will be a ramp-up cost to transition the outsourced service to in-house. And that will be presented with task 3 in January. So basically the cost projections for labor included wages, overtime, represented employees, where they would fit into the new CBAs, things like that. It would also include fringe benefits, retirement plans, et cetera. And then the non-labor costs are spelled out here. I'm not going to get into the weeds with this one, but obviously material costs, maintaining buses, the parts that we have to order, some of the capital infrastructure costs of maintaining the buildings, replacing lifts, things like that TransDev currently maintains. And then one of the bigger ones is the risk management, bringing on the risk in-house. And then this table basically displays the cost increase associated with each of these scenarios, comparing it to the current structure. The first line, you see the FY26 baseline, that includes the current operating outline where contracted fixed route and paratransit are farmed out to TransDev. And then the 3 scenarios following are what I just talked about. So it's just a nice way to display it. And then when you want to get into the weeds with this and where the costs are found, this breaks down based on our FY26 baseline numbers under the current operating scenario and displays the costs associated with each of the 3 different scenarios. If you draw your eye to the very bottom, it shows the cost increases, and it shows each of the scenario cost increases and their percentage over the existing budget. And another table or graph that illustrates how this would impact our budget going forward through FY31. The black line that you see there, as it's noted in the table, is basically where our budget is projected to be, or our expenses are projected to be moving forward. And then you can see the bars that reach slightly above it would be the impacts of bringing this in-house. So our next steps would be to bring the final task to the board in January, which would include basically what steps would need to be taken to implement this, and then the cost associated with just that process. And it would give the board some idea of what this would be. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them if I can.
Well, I'll ask the first question, which is, if it's gonna result in a 14% increase in costs, what do you think are the benefits that would make the board want to consider this?
That would be up to the board to decide, what they feel is the priority. They've had that conversation openly during board meetings, and I think they're continuing to kind of sort through that.
David, you've got a question.
Recoup. I'm seeing a lot about costs, but how much can be recouped by not having that contract with TransDev? Are we recouping how much money to offset these costs?
Yeah, so I think the way to look at it, the assumption would be that contract is gone in this scenario. So you're just looking at the full cost burden. So just pretend like you woke up tomorrow, the TransDev contract was gone, and this is how much more it would be costing by not using that contract. I made myself clear. So the net gain of the next net increase of cost would be $67 million. above and beyond what we're currently.
Above and
paying, yes.
beyond. Ooh, thank you.
You had a question, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I forgot what the question was. The contract with TransDev, is that recompeted on a regular basis, and is that for a limited time? Just curious to know if that has like an end date, kind of like forecast.
Yeah, we have two contracts right now. The mini paratransit contract that has a base term that ends this June, and then there's and that's a 6-year base, and then you have two-year option years that you can tag on to the end of that. So roughly, it could extend to a 10-year contract. The base years, as I said, were 6 years. The fixed route is similar. It's a year behind. So the final base term for that contract is June 2027. And then we have two-year option at the end of that base term. So.
Thanks. And then just a follow up to that, is there a possibility, so at the end of the base term, or if it gets extended at the end of the extended period, if you do a new competition or you renegotiate, is there a chance that those, I'm guessing it's likely that those contract costs will also go up? Like this is your analysis, what you presented so far kind of assumes that the current contract would stay with the current cost, but there's also a possibility you do renegotiate in a few years and the contract cost also goes up. So maybe the net difference is a little bit different than what you have presented right now. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think anytime you go out to bid, there's always a possibility that costs go up. I mean, with everything else that goes up. So yeah, that's fair. I mean, traditionally we do see about a 3 to 4% increase in costs associated with these contracts when we rebid them.
Thanks.
Yeah, Todd?
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Brown was in a while ago. I think it was a meeting before, or maybe the meeting before that, and he was talking about some budgetary things that were being looked at. Is this kind of in conjunction with that? And you may not know because you may not know exactly what Brent's presentation was like, but do you happen to know if it's along the same lines, or is this just in addition to that, or?
Yeah, I would say this is on the side of that. It is just based on our board's desire to see what the feasibility of it would be if we were to do it.
Any other? I think as a committee, we should be thinking about what kind of impact this will have on the paratransit community. And from my thinking is that the number one thing that we should probably be thinking about is reliability. I probably don't have to tell you that this whole discussion got going when there was a strike. And that's probably on, in the back of people's minds when they're looking at possibly bringing things in-house because our service in-house it has been it's been much smoother, the labor relations. And so from my point of view, it's reliability number one, but we also have to consider that, was it $67 million? Where is that in the scheme of things? That in itself is not going to be the determining variable in whether MTS survives the fiscal challenges of the coming years, but it's certainly a big part of it. Certainly a part of it. So there's a lot that we have to look at. And I think those of us in this body should be thinking of what is going to serve the paratransit community and what is going to give us the kind of reliability that we've come to expect and the kind of service that we've come to expect. So for what it's worth. Any other questions?
For the record, there is no public comment.
There's no public comment, right? Just us. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And for item 6, we've got our director again, San Diego Metropolitan Transit System Access Update and Medical Transportation Management Report.
Okay, so here is just some of the performance data when you compare them to FY24 and FY25. As you know, FY25 just finished in June. So we saw an improvement in our on-time performance by 2%. In terms of ridership, we did see an increase as well. So we finished the fiscal year with 350,000 passengers, and that is an 11% increase from the previous year. For complaints, we did see a pretty significant decrease, about 15%, which is fantastic. And then when you look at compliments, we did see an increase of 43% compared to the previous year. So we're happy to see those numbers. And then here are the eligibility assessments. New conditional is 706. I'm sorry, new unconditional, new conditional is 100, recertifications unconditional 803, and then recert conditional at 138. I'm sure everyone got these in their packets. These are just the charts. And then just some additional reminders. The do not leave alone policy has been discontinued. So for any Access passenger that was certified to use Access after January 1st of 2025, they will not be able to use the do not leave alone service. For any passenger that was certified prior to January 1st of 2025, they have the service until January 1st of 2026. I believe Charles provided an update on the same day ride pilot program that we're running. That started in July of this year. And so far it has been successful. We have completed around 2,100 trips in just that almost 3-month time frame. Just a reminder that this is on a operations availability timeframe, and each trip costs per one-way trip. And then finally, everyone should have received an email from Diana Hernandez, the supervisor of paratransit in Minibus. She is currently working on a study with MTS to look at our braille signs that are on our property, like trolleys and bus stops. Over the last 2 years, we have seen an increase in theft and damage to those braille signs. And so we wanted to look to this community and anyone else that's interested on input of, are they effective, useful, are they well placed? So before we put more money and time into this, we just want to make sure that they are being well utilized by the sight impaired community. And those are all the updates that I had. Any questions?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Oh, David.
I missed your quick update there for the same day trips. Could you give me those stats again?
Yeah, so
Thanks.
since the start of the program, which was July 1st of 2025, we have completed, or a contractor has completed 2,100 trips, same day trips.
That's a lot. Other questions? Well, thank you. Yeah, Tim.
Just wanted to clarify, the same day trip, I think, is a higher fare than the regular fare, correct?
Correct. Yep, it's considered a premium service, so it is at $10 per one-way trip.
And Tim?
Yeah, thanks. Another question about the same day trips. So that's not like the ADA required service. It's like above and beyond what's required. This is just like, I can take this offline, but for the Sandag perspective, we get TDA reporting on a quarterly basis from MTS. I'm curious if you're going to be reporting the same day trips in a similar way, or since it's not required, if you're not going to. But I'm just curious about the stats. I would think. I'm curious, knowing that it's $10 instead of $5, how that works out in terms of like operation cost changes and fare box recovery and things like that. Just curiosity perspective.
We do have the data available. I'm not entirely sure how that is going to be reported, but we'll definitely take a look. And it would be good to see, what the impact is. So we can definitely get back to you on that.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, Christian?
Just to keep it on the same day service, are the 2100 trips, are those just like wheelchair accessible, or are they just anybody like ambulatory, anybody who's already eligible for the access service?
Anybody that is eligible, and we can definitely come back during the next ASAC meeting and break it out by ambulatory wheelchair as well, if you would like.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Thank you. And we seem to be zipping through this meeting. We've got the committee member communications. I can start with because I'm also part of FACT, to mention that FACT will be celebrating its 20th anniversary. Isn't that amazing? December 3rd will be the annual meeting of FACT, and you're all invited. That'll be a Wednesday morning. Other committee member communications? Yeah, Tim.
Thank you. So for those who don't know, Sandag has another body of really similar to this one. It's called the Social Services Transportation Advisory Council. And so we are, that group, the STAC is what we call it. It advises the Sandag Board of Directors and its Transportation Committee regarding regional issues of accessible transportation provided by public, private, and nonprofit organizations. We have a vacancy on that group right now for a social service provider for people with disabilities. So we're looking for a primary and an alternate member from an organization that is a social service provider for people with disabilities to apply on that, to apply for a seat on the STAC. So for information about how to apply, you can contact me, after the meeting if you'd like, or the application's online at sandag.org/SSTAC for the application. So thank you. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, Sandra.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Sandra Vasquez, here sitting in for Alyssa An as a new alternate. And then for Caltrans, Alyssa has been working with MTS and other regional transit providers to get feedback on how Caltrans can best be a partner in regards to the district transit plans that we're working on. And so more communication should be coming from Alyssa on that matter. And the plan should be completed around July of 2026. We don't have any word on if that date is changing in any way at this point, but if there are any questions, please contact Alyssa on the district transit plans. But other than that, we don't have anything else to share at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Yeah, Todd.
Not really so much of an update, but just wanted to kind of thank a few people here at MTS. Samantha, thank you for your involvement with the rewriting of our contract with not too long ago. I think you were involved in that. Amanda Denham, Director of Support Services, Daniel Mendoza, the Manager of Pronto Support, and Amber Castro, Supervisor of Pronto Support. We've undergone a pretty large project of having all of our riders have IDs in the system. And MTS was very gracious with working with us and giving us adequate enough time to get all those photos in. And it did require a rework of the contract that we had. And so I just wanted to say thanks and publicly recognize the efforts that MTS put into that. So.
Thank you. Any others? Yeah, David.
I just got a question. Is there an update on the discussion that they had about MTS making, they were either discounted or free rides for disabled riders?
Does anybody know about that?
I know there was discussion. I'm not entirely sure where it is right now, but we're definitely working on that. So again, we can get back to everyone the next ASAC.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Todd?
I think if memory serves correct, I think it was going to go to the board in January. And so it was going to be after that, at which point then it would, I think, come here. Or maybe it's coming here before, but I think it's being possibly looked at to present to the board. I'm not 100% sure. That's just going from memory, though. I'm not sure.
Anything else? Well, thank you all. Our next meeting, that's item number 8, next meeting is December 4th at 1 p.m. right here. And I believe that's the whole story. Number 9 is adjournment. Thank you, everyone.